Good morning.
Good morning.
Let's try that again. Good morning. Welcome to the January 8th Landmarks Commission meeting. It's great to see people in person and also people online. We will begin with our preamble. There we go. There we go. In compliance with notification requirements of Ohio Open Meeting Law of Section 101.021 of the Codified Ordinance of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, notice of this meeting has been publicly posted. All boards and commissions under the, the purview of the City Planning Department conducts its meetings based on Robert's Rules of Order. Actions during the meeting will be taken by roll call vote. Recusal from any case due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to the beginning of the presentation. In order to ensure that everyone participating in the meeting has the opportunity to be heard, virtual attendees will use the raised hand feature before asking a question or making a comment. The raised hand feature can be found in the participants panel on the desktop and mobile versions and activated by clicking the hand icon. Please wait for the chair or facilitator to recognize you and be sure to select unmute and announce yourself before you speak. When finished speaking, please lower your hand by clicking the raised hand icon again and muting your microphone. Call-in users can unmute by using *6. All meeting activities are being recorded via the WebEx platform. These proceedings are also being streamed via YouTube. All requests to speak on a particular matter must be submitted through proper channels to be considered. Proper channels for comments are sending an email to landmark@clevelandohio.gov email address with a comment or letter, calling or leaving a message at 216-664-2532, or sending a letter or dropping off comments at City Hall located at 601 Lakeside Avenue, Suite 519. Communications with members of this body must follow proper channels for consideration. Any comments received by the stated deadline are collected by Landmark staff and disseminated to the commission members prior to any scheduled meeting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To go over the meeting rules and procedures, the chair will call each agenda item and then each applicant will be invited to proceed through their presentation. Each presentation should be completed prior to questions and comments from the commission in order to facilitate a smooth presentation. Once the presentation is concluded, the chair will ask Landmark staff to summarize design review committee recommendations and any public comments received. The deadline for public comments is noon on the Tuesday prior to any regularly scheduled Cleveland Landmarks Commission meeting. Any received comments are distributed to commission members prior to the meeting. Staff will also identify any members of the public present and scheduled to speak. Public comment is allowed at the discretion of the chair, and any individual providing public comment is permitted 2 minutes to speak to the agenda item in which they have an interest. The chair will then request a recommendation from staff. The commission will then begin deliberations and project review. Any commission member except the chair may make a motion at any point after an agenda item has been called.
Excellent. Thank you. We'll now call the January 8th, 2026 Landmark Commission meeting to order. Mr. Musson, please call roll.
Ms. Anderson?
Here.
Mr. Dulick? Here. Councilmember Gray? Mr. Lozier?
Here.
Director Mersman?
Here.
Mr. Sambry?
Here.
Mr. Strickland?
Here.
Mr. Trasick?
Here.
Dr. Williams?
Here.
And Ms. Trott?
Here.
Madam Chair, we do have a quorum. I'd like to note that we have Jessica Beam, myself, and then I believe Carl is joining us online or will be here shortly from the Landmarks Commission staff. And then we have Sierra Lipscomb, our representative from law, present as well.
Excellent. All right, well then we will begin our meeting. We do not have any certificates of appropriateness for review today, so we will begin with elections of officers.
Right, and yes, Madam Chair, this every 2 years, as our rules state, we have to elect a new chair and vice chair. So as we've done in the past, I think we'll open it up if anyone would like to make a nomination for a chair.
Secretary, I would like to nominate Julie Trott as chair of the Landmarks Commission for 2026, 2027.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any other nominations, or if people are ready to move forward with the vote? Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Dulick,
Yes.
Mr. Lozier,
Yes.
Director Mersman,
Yes.
Mr. Sambry,
Yes.
Mr. Strickland,
Yes.
Mr. Trasick,
Yes.
Dr. Williams,
Yes.
Ms. Trot.
Practice the state. We do.
I don't know that you have to recuse, actually. I think you can vote for yourself. If you
I'll
want.
recuse.
Okay. I guess I should have asked if you were willing to beforehand, but
Fine.
the recusal makes me not, but no. All right, then we have a chair for the next 2 years. So we'll move on to the election of a vice chair. If there are any nominations.
Mr. Secretary,
Yes, Mr. Strickland.
it's been my pleasure to serve as vice chair for the past couple of years for the Landmarks Commission, but I think it's appropriate now to lead a transition into new leadership. And with that, I would like to nominate Chris Lozier as vice chair of the Landmarks Commission.
Thank you very much. Is there a second?
I will second that.
All right. I guess before we move forward with the vote, Mr. Lozier, is this a responsibility you're willing to take on?
It is, yes.
Very much. Seeing no other hands raised, no other nominations, we'll move forward with a vote. Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Dulick,
Yes.
Mr. Lozier,
I guess abstain.
Director Mersman,
Yes.
Mr. Sambry,
Yes.
Mr. Strickland,
Yes.
Mr. Trasick,
Yes.
Dr. Williams,
Yes.
and Ms. Trot.
Yes.
All right. Madam Chair, the motion passes. So we have a new chair and a vice chair. Congratulations to you both.
Thank you.
So with that, we can move on to the agenda as written.
All right, thank you. Then we will move on to Cleveland Landmark nominations. Our first case is the Wellman Seaver Morgan Company Building located at 7000 Central Ave.
Yes, yeah. Just turn the mic on with the.
On the clicker. Okay. Good morning. I'm Diana Wellman with Naylor Wellman. I'm a preservation consultant here in Cleveland. And we are asking for designation for the building at 7000 Central Avenue, which is the Wellman Seaver Morgan Engineering Company. It's their Cleveland Works. They had an Akron Works, which is long gone. All right, so I'm going to move through giving you a high level of this company. They were prolific, international, just kind of amazing. I get to say that because it's my husband's great-great-grandfather. So I have some vested interest in this as well. But we'll get this going, I think. Okay, there we are, January 8th, designation. So there's the works. This is the facility that is at 7000 Central. Looks a little different than from 1915. The building in the right front forward, the four-story building, was their office building. They built that in 1913. That has been raised. And then buildings at the back of the property have also been raised. There is a inclined or elevated part of the Pennsylvania Railroad that runs along the west and south portion of the property. And there are it's called a dual fork that goes into the building. The difference that you're going to see in this next image, maybe, is that the building did grow. Oh, sorry. We'll get this figured out before the day is done. The building did grow at the Central Avenue. They added on and extended it between 1901 and 1913. They are just, they're no style building. They're not academic in any way. They're completely industrial. They were completely designed and constructed by Wellman Seaver Morgan. I call them WSM just because it's a lot to say that every single time. So from now on, I'm going to say that. They are very typical industrial buildings where they provided a lot of natural light to adjust to the fact that we didn't have as much artificial lighting in 1901 when the building was built. And then they are a brick base, and then I have yet to get an engineer in there and tell me all the different types of truss systems are in there because, and again, they engineered it, but there are a wide variety of truss systems throughout the building. So we'll get those figured out sooner or later. So there's the Central Avenue elevations and facades. The building is 3 stories in height on the interior. There is one area that has a second floor level, but for the most part, the interior plan is wide open because they were building very large industrial sized steel items. There's just some interior shots. You can see the clearest stories that align the gable roofs. So there it is in plan in 1913. You can see the office building is up there in the right-hand corner. And then you can see that they had a various of spurs that just helped them, I'm sure, move all that material around the plant. There it is in 1927. And then 1953, the extensions have occurred at that north end. And then there's, just to give you a sense, love the dinosaur, give you a sense of just how tall the building is on the inside, the vast space that it has to do the work. So established in 1896, the company was established by Samuel T. Wellman and Charles H. Wellman, brothers. John Seaver, and then later Thomas Morgan in 1903, he joins the firm, and then the firm's changed from Wellman Seaver to Wellman Seaver Morgan. Samuel T. is considered the father of the open hearth furnace in America. He had over 100 patents for any kind of steel item you can think of. John Seaver, he's known for cranes. That kind of was his specialty he brought. Charles Wellman was more of an electrical engineer, and he met Thomas Morgan working with Thomas Morgan at his father's company called Morgan Engineering in Alliance, Ohio. In 1902, Thomas Morgan's father dies, and he sells his interest in the Morgan Engineering Company, and he joins these guys to be a part of them. Sadly, in 1905, Charles Wellman and Thomas Morgan were killed in a derailment of the Lakeshore line, probably heading out for their summer homes. Seaver dies in 1909 and Samuel Wellman dies in 1919. But from 1896 to 1901, they had already constructed 24 steel plants. You guys know how big a steel plant is? That's a lot. Their offices were on the 14th floor of the New England building until they built their building in 1913. They had every type of person working for them: superintendents, estimators, lawyers. They basically did everything from ground up. So they brought in the raw materials, they designed, they constructed. So here's just a handful list of kind of how they moved through history. Probably the other biggest thing that most people know them for is the Hewlett Unloaders. That wasn't the only unloader that they created. They created a whole handful of unloaders, but that's the one that most people are familiar with. And it was really about the fact that they can move millions of ore, coal, and other bulk industries from the Great Lakes. Michigan had the ore, they didn't have coal, so they couldn't produce anything with the ore. So that's how it ends up in Pittsburgh, Chicago, Buffalo, Indiana, all those places, is because we had the ability to produce something with it. In 1930, the name changed to Wellman Engineering Company. As we mentioned, Seaver and Thomas were already gone by 1909. And then they got into also excavating buckets or clams. So when we look at the Hewlett Unloader images, that's just one of many clams they designed. In 1954, the company, McDowell was an engineer here in Cleveland, and you'll see in a photo that I have from the American Engineer Society meeting at Warner and Swayze building. So at some point in 1954, McDowell and Wellman become a joint venture. So in 1963, they're McDowell Wellman Engineering. And then Dravo Corporation in Pittsburgh purchased them in 1978. And by 1988, it is sold off and the building is vacated. A handful of other companies were in that building up to 2022. So there's just, again, a list of a handful of things that they designed. It's prolific. So I'm just gonna so there's that 24 steel plants that they were building by 1901. One of the other things they did was they designed and engineered the steel construction for a lot of buildings. Here's the Caxton building that they engineered under construction. Here's some of those cranes that I mentioned that Sieber was known for. He built the largest spanning bridge across the Mississippi River. I can't figure out which one it is, but still pretty impressive. And then here's just some more images of large industrial things. Here's a crane. This is in France. Like I said, they were all over the world. There's an elevator for coal. This is the Cleveland Electric Railway Company. They designed how that building functioned. More coal elevators, lots of coal elevators. There's our Hewlett Unloaders. And I don't know if any of you have ever had a chance to go to YouTube and look and see how they actually operated. They were smooth as silk. They were amazing. That's a boat, obviously, that they're, ore boat. And then there's the drawing of it. And then inside the ore boat, let's see, I think, yeah. So there's a bucket. And I guess they were super efficient. Like they didn't drop a lot. Those are tiny little pebbles. And they really could scoop them up. They were awarded the Army Navy E Award for their contribution during the World War II. And this is a 16-inch Barrett, I don't even know how you say that, gun. Fun. I think some guys are sliding off the back there. So here's that image at Warner and Swayze building of a handful of the engineers from the American Engineering Society. I have Samuel T. pointed out there. And then if you look, somewhere in there is McDowell. He's somewhere in that first front row as well. There's Samuel T. Born in Massachusetts, and then his father got a job with Nassau, which is an iron company in New Hampshire. It was his third open hearth. He went back to his father's company and installed the third open hearth in the United States. He then, on top of having the company with Sieber and Morgan, he also had the Walmart Bronze and Aluminum Company, and they made parts for the Peerless Auto Company. That building is also demolished. And here's just some fun family photos. So there's an 1886 with a young CMOC with his beard, his father and his two sons. Holly ends up ultimately running the Aluminum and Bronze Company. There's the Bronze and Aluminum Company. That building is now gone. There's another picture of that building. I thought this was fun. It was titled The Old Timers Group. That was also on the back of the picture. Samuel, like I said, he was prolific. He went and spoke at many engineering societies. He was very good friends with Ambrose Swayze. There they are in Egypt in 1900. And then this was his Lake County estate, Welcome Field, which is now about where Great Lakes Mall is. I think that's it.
Sure. Such a great wealth of information. Sorry, my voice isn't strong anyway. So thank you for the presentation. We'll repeat that. Are there any, we'll open up the floor to the commission for questions and comments. Yes, or wait, do I need to do landmark staff recommendations first?
Yeah, I mean, staff is supportive. As you can see up here, we have the criteria that we feel this qualifies for designation locally. The first one being its eligibility for the National Register of Historic Places. We hope to see this again when it comes back for its National Register listing, if that happens.
Our draft will go in on January 15th.
Oh, excellent,
Yeah.
excellent. Just want to say we also in the office kind of abbreviate it WSM because it's such a long name. But then I always get confused because I immediately think of the West Side Market. So keep those files separate. But yeah, we're excited to see attention paid to the industrial heritage of the city. This is one of those buildings that, I think you could drive by a million times and not think much of because there's so much of that, especially along that rail line, just those old industrial buildings that have such rich histories. And we're excited to see it hopefully brought back into productive use.
Excellent.
So
Thank you.
staff is supportive.
Excellent. Thank you. Sorry, shaking the cobwebs off. So now I'll open up the floor for questions and comments. Bill?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say how excited I am personally, but I think also on behalf of all of us at the city, it's just really exciting that this is happening and you're coming before us for this nomination. But through the chair to the applicant, I don't know if this is the appropriate time or if you can share a little bit about what the intended use and
Sure.
future
so-
of the building may be.
Sure. So as you know, this is a site ready project. And the goal is to put it back to some level of industrial use. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to share who we have in mind.
That's fine.
But there is someone that plans to take over the entire building and manufacture out of it, light manufacturing.
Thank you. That's wonderful. I guess just, I don't want to grandstand or anything, but I feel it's important for us all to understand that one of the hardest parts about being part of this body is when a room full of people with the best of intentions are unable to save a historic resource, a historic landmark. And I feel that this is an exception. And that's hard too, because I feel like this should be the norm. Like this is what we should do. And I think there'll be a time when all of us will be able to learn and understand, how did we get here? We all know the story of how did we get here when we literally lose a historic resource. So I guess I'd like to think that as a body, however we can help facilitate whatever it takes within City Hall and with CDC partners and everyone, so that this becomes the norm. This is what we do. We find the user before it's too late, or it's whoever finds that user. But I guess what I'm suggesting is that I'd like this to be the norm and not the exception, and to be the loss, which we have sadly been unable to not normalize, becomes the exception.
Yeah, and as you know, along that railroad track, we've lost a lot of, that's what built Cleveland, everything along that railroad track. So to have something to show for is, I think, super important for the city.
I think, thank you, and through the chair, I think this is wonderful, as what I'm hoping is the beginning of just a shift and a change in how we think of our historic resources. And instead of allowing buildings to deteriorate while we shop for someone to figure out a way to use them, start with how to use them, think them, especially a use that has the potential to really be transformative for the city at a very comprehensive level. So I just want to say it's wonderful to be able to consider this nomination, and thank you for bringing it to us.
Well, I'm glad Site Ready let us be part of it.
Yes, I think that's the story, and I think we want to learn that story and find out how that can be that norm instead of that exception. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Julick. Very well said. Very well said. Director Mersman?
Thank you for the fascinating presentation. It sounds like this is the case, but I just want to confirm that this designation is aligned with plans with the landowner and redevelopment, and it's fully supported by everyone involved.
Yes.
Okay, great. That's wonderful. I also am really appreciative of just pulling out all of the notes of history and how this place and the blocks around this place were so impactful and transformative. And I'll just put this out into the ether if anyone wants to pick it up and run with it. But it seems like it would be so neat in some of this redevelopment, whether it's Warner Swayze or any of the other things moving in this area, to have a little industrial museum or something that could grow bigger and bigger. I mean, I think it's wonderful that this can be brought to life again as a manufacturing facility. And I think it'd be wonderful if Cleveland had somewhere that we could really go to learn and embrace the history of these inventions and the people in place that made them. So that is a passion project that I know would take a lot of time and resources and energy to make happen, but I think it'd be really wonderful for our community, and appreciate the work that you're doing to preserve the place and the physical reminders of all of that happened.
So back in 2020, we did put in a national register questionnaire for an industrial district that follows the train all the way through and up to the lake. So something maybe you guys may want to revisit.
That's great feedback. No, the history is so strong here and unknown by anyone who didn't grow up here. The Hewlett is just the one element that people focus on, and just to learn all the different aspects that were related to the one company is just fascinating. So I agree and support everything that was said and this nomination, because I think it is a great demonstration of being proactive to find the users to make sure that they fit the buildings, rather than finding the sites and the buildings come secondary sometimes and get sacrificed because of that. So thank you for trying to work them together and maintain something with such a great heritage associated with it. Other questions and comments from the commission? Someone like to make a motion? Mr. Dulick?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to make a motion to, I guess it's to support the nomination of the Wellman Seaver Morgan Company building and property as a Cleveland landmark.
Support, or is it a?
It's the motion should be to nominate.
I motion to nominate.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that,
Thank you,
Madam
Ms.
Chair.
Anderson. We have a motion. We have a second. Any further discussion? Not seeing any. Mr. Musson, please call roll.
Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Dulick,
Yes.
Mr. Lozier,
Yes.
Director Mersman,
Yes.
Mr. Sambray,
Yes.
Mr. Strickland,
Yes.
Mr. Trasick,
Yes.
Dr. Williams,
Yes.
and Ms. Trott.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the motion passes unanimously.
Excellent. Congratulations. We look
Thank
forward
you.
to seeing it move forward.
We look forward to work with you guys.
Thanks. We'll then move on to our next nomination. The next nomination is the Beachland Ballroom and Tavern, formerly the Croatian Liberty Home, located at 15711 Waterloo Road.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Of the commission, I am joined here today with co-owner Cindy Barber, and I'm happy to be here to present the Beachland Ballroom and Tavern as a Cleveland landmark. I would first like to acknowledge the work of our former AmeriCorps community surveyor, Julia LaPlaca, as her national register questionnaire was provided a great deal of information and the basis for this presentation. There's a delay. The building is located in North Collinwood neighborhood in Ward 10. Croatians immigrated to Cleveland in large numbers between the 1860s and 1919. Immigration continued through the 1980s. In the 1860s, economic pressures by the ruling Habsburg Empire disrupted life in the principality. High taxes and trade restrictions forced roughly 20% of the native Croatian population to immigrate to America before World War I. Many settled in regions with mining and steel production industries like Pittsburgh and Cleveland. Later, hardship from the world wars and oppression from the communist revolution encouraged more Croatians to immigrate to the States. In Cleveland, Croatian immigration peaked in 1910, and it was in the early 20th century that major Croatian religious, fraternal, school, social, and political groups formed. On the east side of town, Croatian immigrants settled in Glenville, Euclid, Nottingham, and Collinwood, which were all near industrial centers. This plot was originally purchased in 1931 under the name of the Croatian Liberty Home, Inc. The Croatian Liberty Group was founded in Collinwood in 1906. The society helped its members get insurance and assisted with burial costs. The Croatian Liberty Group also championed Croatian culture, hosting numerous events and celebrations. In 1937, a frame house on the east side of the plot was converted into a club by adding a basement and one-story bricked building into the front of the existing house. After 2 decades of fundraising by 4 Croatian fraternal groups, plans to erect a $100,000 building on the west side of the plot. The firm of Matzinger and Grossel were hired to design the structure. Paul Matzinger was a well-known architect, having designed numerous churches, apartment buildings, and terraces throughout Cleveland. Several of his buildings are designated Cleveland landmarks or are contributing structures to historic districts, including most recently the First Hungarian Reformed Stone Church on East 79th Street. In his partnership with Grossel, they designed commercial structures, including multiple theaters, such as the Mayland, and a Hallie's department store at the Southland Shopping Center. Rudolf Grossel first appears as an architect in the 1936 Cleveland City Directory. Prior to his partnership with Matzinger, he had a few smaller projects listed in the newspapers. After Matzinger retired, he partnered with Richard Jensen until 1971. That team continued work on an apartment complex and commercial structures such as the Giant Tiger Discount Center in Willoughby and the Federal Department Store at the Westgate Shopping Center. It opened in April of 1950, and over the next 3 decades, it hosted Croatian cultural events as well as union meetings for various industrial workers. In addition to the rear of the building was built in 1976. In the 1980s, the decision to relocate their community space to the east suburbs following the trajectory of many longtime Croatian families who were moving out of Cleveland proper. In 1984, a new Croatian lodge was dedicated in Eastlake on Lakeshore Boulevard. The sprawling $2.5 million building is still a popular venue for Croatian cultural events, weddings, and other gatherings. The Croatian Liberty Home was briefly placed on the market in 1991. In 2000, the building was acquired by Cindy Barber and Mark Letty. Soon after, they launched their new venue, the Beachland Ballroom, with the smaller, approximately 150-person tavern opening first, and this is followed a month later by the approximately 450-person ballroom's first concert. In an article in the Plain Dealer at the time, Ms. Barber was quoted as saying, "The place will rejuvenate the neighborhood." There are a number of significant bands that have played in the building over time, but 2 to note are first and early appearance of the White Stripes in support of their first album. The White Stripes were just inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2025. And in 2002, future multiple Grammy Award-winning band out of Akron, Ohio, the Black Keys, played their first live performance. The building has played host to spanning multiple genres of music. And we hear selected performances here. The original club was demolished by 2002. Neon signage was added in concert with the city's storefront renovation program in 2003, and the parking lot and site being improved the following year. Beachland Ballroom and Tavern has been an anchor to revitalize the business district along Waterloo Road. In 2002, the nonprofit Waterloo Arts was formed to enrich the neighborhood culturally and economically by creating a stimulating environment through quality exhibits, performances, special events, and educational programming for people of all ages. Today, the Beachland Ballroom and Tavern is one of many arts and cultural institutions on Waterloo Road. This area has been designated by community members as the Waterloo Arts District. Numerous murals, gallery spaces, and renovated buildings give the neighborhood an eclectic flavor. Following the tradition of the Croatian Liberty Home, the Beachland contributes to the evolving culture of the Waterloo Arts District through its concerts, community space, food, and retail business. In 2020, the site was surveyed by Ms. LaPlaca as part of the National Register questionnaire. It was determined that the property appears to be eligible for nomination to the National Register of Historic Places under Criterion A as a property significant for its association with Eastern European ethnic history in Cleveland at the local level. In 2023, the storefront renovation program was utilized again for needed repairs and improvements that are listed here. And then our current conditions, see the rear addition, new awning, view from the front. A tour of the interior, the tavern. Rear addition bar. This is the entrance into the ballroom, the long hallway. Still maintaining the murals featuring the Croatian history. In the basement, there's a green room, office, and a vintage and record store as well. And I thank you, and I'll turn it over.
Thank you for all of the work that you did on this. That's amazing. Man, I'm honored to be part of this. We just did our 25th anniversary, which is hard to believe. That we started a rock club in a rundown neighborhood. And I was told that it'd never work. The banks wouldn't give us any money to do that. They said we had to be in the flats. There's no way we're going to make a new neighborhood. So it's been a long haul, but I think we're starting to turn the corner in Collinwood.
Excellent. Well, thank you for the presentation and thank you for being such a good steward of an amazing building. Before we move forward, landmark staff recommendation.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. As you can see, we have the criteria that staff feels this property is eligible under. The eligibility in this case for the National Register is largely based on the NRQ that was filled out and submitted by Ms. Lopako when she was here with AmeriCorps. And so the State Historic Preservation Office agrees that this is a significant, cultural piece of our heritage worthy of preserving and designation. Just grateful to see the building so lovingly cared for all these years and, rehabbed in the first go around and then the second time again. I guess we look forward to the continued enhancing of its historic significance as its history as the Beachland Ballroom continues on. The Croatian history is an important part of it, but I think the story the Beachland Ballroom tells and its major contribution to the ongoing revitalization of the neighborhood will prove to be just as significant as its former history. So thank you. Also just want to note that the councilman has expressed support for the nomination.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, then we'll open up the floor to the commission for questions and comments. Well, I guess I'll start. I'm in full support of it. I think it's an amazing building and obviously history, but also, as staff stated well, you have established a new history related to that building in the neighborhood and really are an anchor to the revitalization. And the irony is I was just talking about your facility last night because my son's going to a concert tomorrow there. So I was like, this is ironic. So it's obviously still very applicable to not just the people who know the history, but also the future of the city related to who will continue to support you in the neighborhood. So thank you for your contribution. And as staff said, and being such a great steward for the facility itself too. Other questions and comments from the commission? Director?
I think you're hearing quiet from us because we have nothing but good things to say, but don't want to be redundant. So just to reiterate the chair and on behalf of the whole commission, I think we're so appreciative of the investment that you've put in and the stewardship that you've put into the building and are really excited to see that preserved and furthered through this nomination and to staff too for the research around the building. I think both of these today are sort of layering on the past history of Cleveland that makes our experience here so rich and laid the foundation for so much of what we have today, layered on with current and sort of future vibrancy that we're really excited to see developing and continue on. So thank you for your part in that. And thank you for letting us play a little bit of a part in that as well this morning.
Mr. Strickland?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think it's wonderful how you've been able to preserve this historic structure. And I just think it looks really cool. And I'm looking forward to maybe visiting there myself soon. But I've read recently about the struggles of smaller independent entertainment venues. And I wondered, you mentioned that you think you're turning the corner. And I just wanted to get your sense on what the prospects are going forward.
Yeah, I'm very involved nationally in the cause of small independent music venues, because we're at a really critical point right now. Personally, I started a nonprofit in 2012 called Cleveland Rocks, Past, Present, and Future, to try to tackle this within the city of Cleveland. We're working with Senator Kent Smith to put legislation through the state of Ohio to try to get some relief, tax relief. The state sales tax rebate. It's a project that's been done in Tennessee and Texas. So we're modeling existing legislation and trying to get relief for venues in Ohio. I'm also trying to create a state music commission or a county music commission so that we can preserve the you have to start small. We were very lucky. We knew Black Keys were going to be great from the minute they played. But trying to get small bands up the ladder, you need small venues, and some of that's not being recognized, and we need preservation of that industry. So thank you for, we're talking about potentially in England, they did a land trust where they could turn spaces that were rented into ownership. I was smart enough to buy my building and not have to rent it, even though that was difficult. So I think you're right. There needs to be, and you may be helpful in that going forward, because we've got the Happy Dog, which is in also an amazing historic looking building. That they don't own that building. So we're trying to figure out legislation or some way to preserve those types of at risk places.
Do you have a sense at this point how successful Kent Smith is being in terms of rallying support in Columbus?
We could use some help. It's Senate Bill 186. And we're working with Chris Renane at the county level, and they have a lobbyist that's potentially going to help us try to work on this. So
It's been successful with the credits that they provide for film production, and I would think this would be in the same vein.
We're also asking for that as well. There's Senate Bill 187, which is a tax credit for music production.
Very helpful to know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Strickland. Any other questions or comments from the commission? Or would someone like to put forward a nomination?
I'll move to nominate the Beachland Ballroom at 15711 Waterloo Road as a Cleveland landmark.
Thank you. We have a nomination or a motion. Do we have a second?
Madam Chair.
And a third. Any further discussion? All right, not seeing any. Mr. Mussin, please call roll.
All right, Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Dulick,
Yes.
Mr. Lozier,
An enthusiastic yes.
yes with an exclamation point. Director Mersman,
Yes.
Mr. Sambry,
Yes.
Mr. Strickland,
Yes.
Mr. Trasick,
Yes.
Dr. Williams,
Yes.
and Ms. Trott.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the Landmarks Commission enthusiastically approves it unanimously.
Excellent. Congratulations. That concludes our Cleveland Landmark nominations. We will then move on to minutes. There was one meeting minutes that was circulated for January 13th, 2022. Does anyone have any questions or comments on those minutes? Would someone like to put forward a motion of approval? Mr. Lozier?
Madam Chair, I will make a motion to approve the minutes as presented for January 13th, 2022.
Excellent. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Strickland. We have a motion. We have a second. Any further discussion? Not seeing any. Mr. Musson, please call the roll.
Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Dulick,
Yes.
Mr. Lo,
Yes.
Director Mersman,
Yes.
Mr. Sambry,
Yes.
Mr. Strickland,
Yes.
Mr. Trassick,
Yes.
Dr. Williams,
Yes.
and Ms. Trott.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the motion passes unanimously.
Excellent. Then we will move on to administrative reports.
And Madam Chair, at this point, Ms. Speed going to walk us through the administrative report for the year. I think you guys are all aware of the cases that come before you, both nominations, certificates of appropriateness, schematic reviews, all of that. But Jessica's going to give you a little background into what else Landmarks Commission staff works on, I guess, during the rest of the week. So.
Secretary Musson. Hello, everyone. Yes, so we have been busy in the past year in 2025. Starting off with what you guys do, the important work as the Landmarks Commission. In 2025, we did switch our time from 9 o'clock to 9:15 to work with the City Hall opening hours and make it easier for our applicants and members of the public to join our meetings and not have to be stuck in security. There was 93 new case numbers, 22 meetings completed, 32 meeting minutes approved. That covered majority of 2025 and finished out the meeting minutes for 2021. And so now the only pending years that we need to catch up on is last year and a few from 2022. Thanks to Rachel Pierce for completing a lot of those. A fun fact, the longest Landmarks Commission meeting we had last year was on August 25th. It lasted till 2:36. So thank you for everyone to stay for that one. The shortest one last year ended at 10:05. So that was a bit of a difference. So we'll see.
Start at 9 or 9:15?
I will double check.
You did.
Still be there.
Good. And so just numbers at a glance, finished out 2025 with 10 Landmarks Commission members after unfortunate loss of Alan Dreyer. We have 345 Cleveland landmarks, 34 demolished landmarks, 29 Cleveland historic districts, 4 historic preservation professionals on staff, and 373 distinct files on landmarks, buildings, sites of interest, districts, potential landmarks, and districts floating in the office. Outside of that, we've got everything else that we do. Our lovely design review advisory committees. We have 5 with 39 total committee members last year. The total of 95 design review advisory committee meetings completed, administered by Landmark staff. So 117 meetings that we completed last year, which is great. We've got our 5 committees, a little chart that has the variety of cases that they saw. Greater Cuyahoga Valley Historic Design Review Advisory Committee had 34 new cases, 21 meetings. Greater Northeast Historic had 26 new cases, 17 meetings. Greater Downtown Historic had 23 new cases and 15 meetings. Historic West Cleveland had 44 new cases and 22 meetings. And Historic Ohio City had 55 new cases and 20 meetings. And so we found that the combining and reorganization of the design review advisory committees that we did in 2024 or 2023 has really led to a more evening of the amount of cases that we have going to these committees. So we don't have one that's only seeing 7 and one that's seeing like 50 or 80. So it evens it out a little bit for our committees and for us as staff. And we also have our lovely landmarks. Last year, there were 8 landmark nominations presented. 7 of those were nominated by this body. 5 of those went through the entire landmarking process and were landmarked or designated by City Council. We have New Sardis Primitive Baptist Church, former Kinsman Jewish Center, Greater New Calvary Missionary Baptist Church, former First Congregational Church of Collinwood, former Cleveland Fire Department Engine Company 26 Station House, Tamir Rice Butterfly Memorial, and Old John Marshall High School Building. With that, there were also 4 National Register nominations presented to this body before they moved forward to their OSHPAB meeting to get officially nominated. So we're very busy with our nominations. We also have the building permit and project records, which is a large part of what we do as staff, which is reviewing part of our ordinances to review any exterior or environmental changes to buildings that are designated through our designation process, which is locally designated, not National Register. And so there were 418 approved permits and project records. 569 overall construction project records were reviewed. And in late 2025, the Department of Building and Housing introduced a new permitting process. And so we are working through that. That was officially up and running a month or two ago. And so Landmark staff was included in more than 85 meetings throughout the year to help facilitate that process and see how our design review process fits into that new process and new permitting system. And so we have new names for things, but overall, we've been very busy with reviewing these projects. You can see of over 200 are ones that don't come to this body. They don't go through design review because they're small enough changes or they're changes that fit within our standards or our guidelines that we can administratively approve. And then the amount that get approved from the design review advisory committee, and then the amount that comes to you all for your certificate of appropriateness. And then we also have our, I believe, Section 106 review. And that is something that the Landmarks Commission Office took over the function of working with community development, the Department of Community Development, in late 2024, working with Rachel Pierce and Dan Musson to get those reviews completed. Last year, they entered in a new programmatic agreement, which was presented here for that public comment. There were 409 reviews completed by compliance staff, 42 project information submissions to the State Historic Preservation Office, and 12 invitations to comment completed. And so we've taken on that work, and I think it's been going very well. And then with all of that stuff that is under our purview, we also have the administrative stuff. So stuff that we complete in the office, that's not necessarily the big exciting things that we do. We completed 28 site visits, and those were some of them invited all of you for potential demolitions. They also included technical assistance, potential landmarks, reaching out to people, or kind of scheduling that to have that communication with people who are concerned about work in their neighborhood. We also completed over 50 hours of property or district surveys, and that included checking for work completed, current conditions, or to gather current images for publications that we created. We had over 80 hours of webinars and training between the 4 of us, and we had guidelines that were adopted. Most recent one was the siding one that was, I love handouts, completed and adopted. We also have all the other ones, working with Tom's to make sure that the design fits with what the city wants to put out and also is very readable and helpful for anyone that's looking for information about work on their homes. We also had 11 public records requests completed. Landmark staff attended the Pass Forward National Trust Historic Preservation Conference in Milwaukee, the Heritage Ohio Conference in Canton, and the National Alliance of Preservation Commission's virtual summer short course, which was virtual. Room 519, which is our home base, received office improvements, which meant that Landmark staff packed up the office and put it all back once it was completed. So we have lovely new carpet. We have a few new changes in layouts. But otherwise, it got a bit of a clean, and part of the city's technology updates, around 11 terabytes of data was organized to kind of make sure everything fits. So it was a lot of cleaning up and everything completed in the past year. And so we are keeping busy. Just want to give you guys a brief update of everything we're working on. Oh, one of the things I forgot. We also, Dan, I've been working on postcards to send out to residents in homes in our historic districts. And so that way they have a little bit of info about that and a way to contact us to let them know you're in a historic district in a very nice way to kind of say, reach out to us with questions about the history of your district, or if you want to do changes to your home. And so it's something that we are putting out in 2026. So hopefully we'll have more data about that later.
Excellent. That's amazing to hear that summary. I mean, see that you've reviewed basically 1,000 cases in the last year between the two reviews and done 160 meetings on top of that, in addition to all of the development of the public advocacy, is just amazing to hear. And I just want to say thank you for all of your hard work, because you know it's not easy to do all this and push on all the different fronts. So thank you for the presentation, and thank you for all that you all do. Other questions or comments from the commission? Mr. Strickland?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question. The design review committees, are all of the positions on the various committees full?
We don't have specific positions and regulations for who's on those committees like we have for the Landmarks Commission. We have 11 spots available for those. In the last, I guess.
11 open spots? you mean?
Yeah, so the committees could have up to 11 members, but we don't have max at any of them at this time. Last year, we had some committees that they had a little fluctuation of committee members. So there are some that had about 5 or 6 members. There are some who have about 9. Most of them have around 7 to 9 members on them.
And my sense was, throughout the year, oftentimes we heard that there was not a quorum at the meetings. And so I wondered if there's anything that can be done. I mean, is it an issue? My sense was that it happened frequently. And so I don't know if you keep track of that, but is there anything you feel needs to be done to improve on attendance so that a quorum is satisfied for each meeting?
Yeah. So yes, we do track the attendance of our design review advisory committee members. Overall, trying to think back on my spreadsheet, but there are some committees that never had an issue with it. Quorum, there's others that did. It really depends on the members, the time of year. A lot of times when we don't have quorum, it's usually in the summer when a lot of people are out. And so with the addition of the new members that appointed in our last meeting, that should hopefully help with some of our committees that had the lower member count, just due to a few folks leaving in the past year. And so we're hoping that that would help as well. We also have trainings for our committee members. We're doing one tomorrow. We had a chair and vice chair training last year. I guess we should put that on the slide, but so many things.
You can't hit everything.
I know, I try. Yeah, and so I think we're hopeful that we will have less meetings that have no quorum. And yeah, we've been trying to work on.
I would just
that.
suggest that maybe there'll be some kind of reflection on, how it currently operates and if there's something that can be done to improve it.
We did go through some of that, I guess, at the end of last year, and sent out a survey to all the design review advisory committee members to see.
So many things I didn't put on
Yeah,
slides.
one of the things that, just to kind of see where they were at. Does the meeting time work? Trying to figure out, why we had issues with quorum sometimes, or if different meeting times were necessary. So we've been kind of sifting through that data and reaching out to the committee members and trying to resolve that issue.
Thank you. Great job.
Other feedback from the commission? No? Well, excellent summary, great accomplishment, and thank you, as always, that all of you guys have done throughout not just the past year, but, the past few years. All right. Any other administrative reports?
Not at this point. Thank you.
So I just have a random question, because I think this would probably be the place to ask it, is obviously there's an amazing history that is presented to us in all of these nominations. And this is, sorry, I can't, it feels like a question or something I should know that I don't. Do the public have access? Is there a place, that they can see or get access to all of the research that has been done?
So we are working on that. Our hopes is that the new, our new website will be able to have sort of images of each of our individually designated landmarks and the districts and, histories and images and everything that, basically here's why it's significant. We've also been working on going through old files and, a lot of them a lot of the files are just sort of random bits and pieces of information. So trying to put that together into a, form that if someone says, why is this significant? We can look at the form and say, here's why. And then gives a brief history, as well as just general organization of those files. So yeah, they're available. That's what those public records requests typically are, requests for information about specific properties. So we're working on it. The dream is to have it linked to the GIS and so that somebody can say, oh, it's a local landmark point, cool. And then it pops up and everything you want to know about it is there. If you want to know more, then you can contact the office and we can give you more info.
Excellent.
There's information about landmarks on the website currently, the City of Cleveland's website, as they're making updates to website in different phases. And so there is information currently, just pretty much dates and
Yeah. I
the information on GIS.
And that was going to be my next question is about the website, because I know there's such a treasure chest of information that we hold here or you hold, and so many people don't know about it or even know how to find it. And, especially older buildings, because it is often right. The last time I was looking by the names of the buildings, which aren't always applicable, or known. And when a building's 100 years, and as we just saw, the name of the building changed 4 times within that 50-year period of the company, it's the address. So you know what I mean, versus the name, and you can't just look it up. Or when the last times I was look for somebody looking up for the address. So it's great to hear that the website is being updated and hopefully can let the public into all of the great treasure chest of information we actually do have here. So those are my only questions. So that's it. All right. Anything else for today's meeting? No? Then we will adjourn today's meeting and look forward to seeing everybody next at the January 22nd, 2026 meeting. Thanks, everyone.
And if that shortest meeting started at 9, we might have just beat it.
We're going to leave the meeting so that we can it's on the
All right,
record.
we'll have to check.
Yeah.